Hey guys, so it's serious time, and I want to address the fact that I personally have an issue with caring about people's lives. It sounds horrible to say it like that, but I don't know how else to explain it. I do love people, and I love to hear about them, and I think that they're interesting, and there's a lot of interesting stuff about even normal, boring people. I say normal and boring in the same sense because normal people do usually bore me. The people with a two-car garage and 3 siblings and the parents and just the American story, even if they have a different American story, it's still an American story. It's just boring to me. I've heard it a million times. But that's not their fault. And there's something about them that makes them them. And that's what I find fascinating. It's the little things that nobody ever asks you about, like how many brothers and sisters do you have? It's like, oh dear goodness, here we go again, I have 3 brothers. They're all younger than me, Let me give you my biography. It'll be shorter. I'll give you the condensed version. I think it's partly because I've just grown up giving my biography to people. I'm always the one being asked questions. And I've always felt, like growing up as a missionary kid, right? People are always asking you questions. You're at a new church, you're at a new place, you're at a new school. Oh, they want to know all about you because you're the new kid. And you're fine as long as you're the new kid. But as soon as you're not the new kid anymore, and it's kind of like up to you to reciprocate and ask questions, I suddenly realize, that I have absolutely no interest in asking the same questions that they all asked me. Does that mean I don't care about them and I don't find their lives interesting or fascinating? That there's nothing about them that I would like to know? There's lots of things I would like to know about them, but they're not the things that come up in icebreaker situations where they ask you all the questions and then you ask them back. And then now you have all of this useless information about each other, but you feel like you know each other better because you have traded useless information. But there's not really been any meeting of the minds. You didn't say, oh, well, I like sauerkraut. And they say, oh, I really like sauerkraut too because of this and that and the other thing. And you're like, oh, well, that's interesting. They know about sauerkraut, Something that most people don't talk about, okay? I'm talking about this because I went out with a friend, with my brother and his friend. Never met this guy until last night. And I realized that he fired off questions from the minute I got in the car. But as soon as he was done, and I felt, oh yeah, that's right, it's culturally acceptable now to ask the questions back. I actually think about this stuff. Oh, I know this is the cue, but all of a sudden I've forgotten what to say. It's like trying to speak another language. Oh, that's right. How do you say this in Spanish? How do you say it? There's something you're supposed to say right now, and I just can't remember the words. That's what I feel like in those situations. And then I'm worried that it's because I don't really care about these people because I don't give a crap about whatever the answer to the question would be that they just asked me. So maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just disillusioned, but I asked Nathan because there came a point where it was just us. I said, are you feeling the same way as I am, that you actually don't care about these questions that they just asked us? You don't care to ask them back because you don't care about the answer, but it makes you feel like a bad person for not caring about that person's life. But it's not because we don't care, it's just because we don't value the superficial, the small talk, all the useless information that apparently you have to get out of the way before you can ask something like, where does sauerkraut come from, Or why don't you wear sunglasses? Oh, well, it turns out that's actually a really interesting story. He didn't just leave them at home or in the car. He just doesn't like to wear sunglasses. Oh, well, why? Well, that's an interesting answer. The story behind it, I'm not going to tell it, but we finally managed to learn things that do interest us, but it's because we don't waste time asking the questions that everyone expects us to ask. But do you ever find yourself in that position? Is it just me and my brother? Is it a TCK thing? Or is it just a random personality thing where you just really don't care about the answer, but you do care about people? Yet admitting that you don't care about asking these questions makes you actually, in this culture, in the American culture, it means that you're uncaring, even though you're not, just because you don't care about particular questions and answers that are a given, a norm to be asked before you are allowed to feel acquainted with this person enough to ask the interesting questions. I just want to dive right in, you know? I just don't find the small talk fascinating. Maybe it's because I don't value my own answers that I give people. You know, where are you from? How many people do you have in your family? You know, where are you going now? What do you plan on doing with your life? I find all that extremely boring. But I've been asked that since I was 2 years old, you know. And I have to give a short biography at every new church and every new school and everything, you know. Maybe it's because I don't value my own answers, so I can't imagine that they would value it. But I know they do. I know better, but I can't bring myself to care. Are you in the same spot? Let me know in the comments.